today they told me I'm getting the What? What do you mean? Yeah. That throws a lot of things. I wouldn't say out the window. It just changes the whole year. I can't tell. It's not that I can't say no details about it. I can't say when, where, why. But just know, it means you're going to be gone for a good amount of time. At least half the year. At least half of a year. Could be gone longer. My whole image for this year was to figure out what I wanted to do. And with this deployment up in the air now, something I have to decide if it is what's going to happen in the next couple of days or not. It brings up the question of, is this a test that God wants me to take? Right? Because this can come up eventually, any time, right? It's not unusual to get deployed in my field or where I am right now. It's not. It's gonna happen eventually. It could be right now, and it is early enough to where I can do this and still get one more towards the latter end. Not saying it's a guarantee, but I'm saying it's possible. Anything is possible, especially when it comes to this type of lifestyle. But damn. What about the content, right? You just started posting like 2 months ago, man. I still want to do that, right? That's my dream career, to be in videography, to make a coaching program where I can give back directly to others and eventually find where I want to settle back in the States, and then build a whole in-person brand on top of the online program, do content, travel the world, get me and my best friend dog, and eventually start a family. I also want to get into volleyball and all that stuff. And honestly, my whole image for volleyball this year, if I deploy, volleyball gone for the year, practically. I won't be here for the school, coaching our squadron team. I won't be here for the base tryouts, and I would have to look at it next year. Then who knows? My motivation will probably just be killed off by then, right? Kind of crazy. Content, how far am I going to be? I'm going to be isolated for 6 months. Isolation, I know what happens to me in isolation. I change. 6 months, it's not that, it's half the year, man. Isolation, you can isolate me for 1 month. I isolated for 1 month and 1.5 months, and I ended up deciding to join the military. When I first got to my base, I was isolated for about 2 to 3 months. And that found me, my path with God, and my consistency. After me rejecting God and me being isolated, not really having any friends, not paying attention to no girls, I decided, hey, I'm going to put God first. Actually, for real this time. I'm not just going to say I'm going to do it, and I'm just going to act like it, and I'm just going to put it on a piece of paper and then forget about it the next. I'm going to commit right now. The thing I am so scared of is wasting time. I have a fear of wasting time. I'm going to find things to do, even if I don't. Even if that's just working on my body. If that's just working on my body, just getting fit, leveling up. I'll still have my Bible. I know damn for sure I'll still have my Bible. Maybe that's me finishing half of the Bible in those 6 months. Maybe the whole damn thing. What college classes I'll pursue? Maybe I'll have my undergrad, definitely. Get all my associates. I'll have an associate's by then for sure. I might even be close to finishing the whole damn bachelor's degree by the time I'm done with the 6 months, or damn near close, at least 3/4. 6 months is a long time. Away from friends, away from family, away from my own room. It is just me, work, and what do I need to get done? I am serving the States. I'm serving y'all. And on top of that, I'm just doing, what do I want to do, right? This might be the determining factor too if I decide to do this, if I want to stay in for another contract. I really don't know if I would do overseas incentive, right? More incentive to travel. I have nowhere to be settled with. I have no one that's settling me down. No significant other in the picture, no family attached. It is just me. So I could go to another base, do another station, maybe go to where I want to be. In Japan, right? Maybe I get sent to Hawaii. Maybe I go back to the States in Hawaii. Maybe they do send me to Italy right after my best friends leave. That would be hilarious. Who knows? All I know is this is definitely going to be I think for surely this would be the biggest test of my entire life. It'd be the longest one, a 6-month test, and see how I change as a person. See if my aspirations and all that still stay true. I have no idea. If my passions remain the same, how much of myself is still myself. I hope that I don't lose too much of it, right? People could see some drastic things out there, man. Y'all on the civilian side know some of the gist of stuff going on, right? God bless me. God bless the people already out there. The people serving us, people putting their lives on the line. God bless them. May God protect them. God bless their families. Keep them guided. And if I end up in that situation, God bless me too, man. All I can do is pray about it, right? See where it falls in my faith. God first is in everything, and this is my God test. Because I know after this, I won't be the same person. Because even then, day, I love helping people, right? Part of being a God's child, part of being a child of God is willing to just serve back, right? And you can do this even if you don't believe in God. And you don't even need to, because you don't need to serve with God's faith, right? If you're just serving with your time, your passion, your hard people, and you are making another person's life safer by your work and your existence alone, that speaks volumes. That speaks so much more volumes than people that are sitting at home, jobless. They're working fast foods, retail shops. What impact do they have on people's lives? Very minimal. I'm not saying they have zero, but it's very minimal. And those places, those workers need us. At the same time, think about medical workers, military members, pastors. A lot of them have to put so much work outside of their actual hours. Some of them don't even have listed hours because they get paid by the annual, and they just put all the hard work that they can into helping other people every single day. My kind of worry is, through me being a couple states down when I was in Mississippi for some military schooling for my school, I was across the country in terms of the states, right? Because I'm from California. And even then, I felt so limited in trying to help people that I do miss. And when I got sent, I've been in a different country for the last half a year or so. It was kind of like, now it's really just out of my hands. Like, time difference speaks volumes. I will make time. I still reach out. I still am consistent with calling at least a couple of times a month, right? Even if it's 2 times a month. That is a lot more than a lot of people even try to give effort into. Some people will come back to their friends and their parents if they're this far out once every 4 months, maybe 4 or 5 times a year, right? And really just sit with where my passions are at, brainstorm ideas, and be so ready when I get back. Think of it as a setback, right? A setback, but also what can you do? Come back stronger. You've seen so many of your own inspirations and athletes be out for a year, be out for a whole season of sports, and they come back strong. And they always do usually bring up God in that sentiment, because it is a test from God, right? And God sticks with you through that comeback. You get injured, ACL, MCL tear, leg injury, and you're out for a year, you're out for 2 years, you're out for a whole season, and they still come back and fight. First person that comes to my mind when I think about this, Klay Thompson from the Warriors, Tyrese injured from the finals, Derrick Rose tried and fight, PG-13 injury, all types of athletes that came back from injuries. Those were setbacks. They couldn't play on the field. They couldn't practice. How are they going to react mentally, physically? This is the same thing with me, right? More so on the mental standpoint. Are you still going to keep these passions? Are you still going to keep what you really want to do, your faith? Only way to find out is by just pushing through it, right? This will really cut the ties in between me being a young adult versus me being a young man. Kind of already there, right? Independent, on your own, not reliable on nobody. Got your own dreams and aspirations. You try to be as organized as possible. You've gone through your own relationship experiences, so you got wisdom in that field in terms of what type of people to avoid, what type of people are worth having in your life. But at the same time, I have so much to learn. We're gonna do this quick piece before I step off here. I don't think I'm gonna go on a run. I'm probably just gonna go straight back home because I got things to do. Why do I want to do the things that I want to do, right? Where my passions derive from? When I was 14 years old in 2020, Actually, I'm gonna start from the beginning. I'm gonna do this as quick as possible, and then I'll dive into it. I'm gonna retell the story so many times that it'll be engraved in my head and engraved in other people's heads, hopefully. When I was I start all the way from Elk Grove, Stone Lake Elementary. I was there from kindergarten to 4th grade, and then that 4th grade, actually, I wasn't even there 4th grade. From kindergarten to 4th grade. And after that 4th grade into that summer, right before school started, it was brought up to me that I may be moving schools. And I didn't even get to say bye to a single person from that school. I said bye to one classmate, and he happened to be on the same street as me. He was my neighbor and my best friend, Mason. I left that school, never showed up that school year, and find out that I am going to school in the Bay Area, about 2.5, 3 hours away, for the start of my 5th grade school year. I was in the Bay Area from 5th to 6th grade. So I did 1 year of middle school, graduated the middle school, and then did 1 year of elementary in 5th grade at Kitayama. And then I went to Cesar Chavez Middle School in Union City. Made new best friends, much more cultural environment. It was predominantly Asians, a lot more Filipinos, a lot more Mexicans, a lot more Indians, a lot less white people. Honestly, felt a lot more like home. But at the same time, I didn't really know what to call home here because we kept bouncing from place to place. Eventually, around this time, I met an extension of a family that I considered my second family. Shout out to the Osorios. Auntie Joy, Christian and them, Uncle Mike. There was my second family throughout that year. I was over there, bouncing from house to house, toxic bit environments going around, and then eventually I transfer again after 6th grade, going into 7th grade, coming back towards where I came from. We tried to get back into Elk Grove, see if I can reunite with some of my old friends, but I ended up going to Penryn, the smallest town that I've ever seen, the smallest town that I've ever lived in. Went to a school so small, but it only persisted from kindergarten to 8th grade. The middle school was not separate. The middle school was a part of the elementary school. It was half and half of this very small school, very small town. Everyone has been there and lived their whole lives there. Predominantly white school, and I got placed there. I was there from 7th to 8th grade. 7th grade was probably one of the best highlights of my life, to be honest. I was evident in a youth group. I had a lot of friends. I was living a pretty prime childhood. And then 8th grade came along. In 8th grade, something struck called the COVID era, where pretty much the second half of my 8th grade ceased to exist. And before this happened, I was going in and out with my best friends at the time over girl drama, rumors being spread. And eventually those rumors made it where my best friends and that circle of friends that I was in, the circle of friends that I initially brought together, right? I came there. I became close with these girls that were going to church, and I became close with these boys that played sports with me and that were around this circle. Became friends with both groups, went to youth group with the girls. Eventually the boys got invited, and eventually the girls and boys group became one. And a part of me felt like I was that connection between them. And eventually, when all that drama kicked through, I became a side thought, an afterthought. Eventually I was the enemy. I was the villain. So that group no longer accepted me. And I branched out to other friends, and that's very small group. Keep in mind, there was only 3 8th grade classes. I'm wrong. There was only a single 8th grade class, single 7th grade class, and a single 6th grade class. Am I tripping? I think I am tripping. I don't know. I think there was either 1 or 3. There might have been 3. There wasn't that much. And eventually, I tried to get back with that group. Tried to act like I was an enemy and give in to BS that wasn't even my fault. And then I gave in to them. And then we were starting to get forgiven. I was starting to become friends with them again. I sat with them. I remember my teacher, Mrs. Connolly, realized that we were pretty bad divided. So I came to her to see if I can get a talk with them. I talked with them. We hugged it out. And then they were starting to get better. And then eventually, it didn't matter because COVID happened. And right before COVID happened, I was rumored to transfer again. Keep in mind, every time this comes up, it's sudden. It's not planned. Then COVID happened, so it seemed a little impossible. I was supposed to transfer schools in the second half of my 8th grade year. I ended up transferring, ended up not having to transfer, but I still moved houses because everyone switched to online school. So when I moved within the first couple of weeks of COVID happening, I was in a new neighborhood about 45 minutes to an hour away from my initial school, and I didn't need to transfer because everybody was online. Everybody was online. So I stayed in that same 8th grade classroom, but I never got to see anybody again. I got to see everyone through when we did a drive-through graduation at the end of our 8th grade semester, end of our 8th grade year, but I never got invited to another thing. Nothing again, right? Because I was already gone. But keep in mind, for that whole 2nd and 8th grade, I never saw or made new friends between that transfer. Going into freshman year, I never even stepped foot on the new campus I was going to because freshman year started online. Freshman year started where I couldn't even restart. I just felt stuck in this little bit of this hole. I couldn't make new friends, I couldn't try out for new teams, nothing. No social pillar at all. So I grew up this other social pillar. I started to be chronically online. It became evident on Twitter and Discord. I already had Discord friends for a couple of years. Shout out my boys from the Z-Lads. But it started becoming more evident on Twitter. I started watching anime, getting in the anime Twitter community, started making friends, started posting every single day. I started growing a following. Eventually, I got what you may consider to be one of my first actual girlfriends, and it was someone I met on the internet. Someone in a different country. That's how down bad I was. But before that even happened, keep in mind, the reason why I'm emphasizing those months that I was alone is because for almost half a year, 6 to 8 months, no contact, no sports, no anything except me and my mind and trying to distract myself from any of the thoughts by playing video games and watching anime and being chronically online. What do you think that's going to do to someone who was initially playing sports all year round, had so many friends, had a Bible study group, an evident church life, and very little emotional support? That person's going to break down, especially if he's that young and not that emotionally intelligent, and that's exactly what happened. Long story short, I probably went to the lowest low that I have been in my entire life, and unfortunately I hit it at 14 years old. I lost all motivation in anything. I started becoming genuinely depressed, diagnosed level depressed, started having those thoughts, and I saw no future for me moving forward. No motivation to do school, no motivation to even try to pursue any of my passions because I lived in a neighborhood in the middle of a forest. Nothing was a walk away. You can walk in trails and all that. There's no stores nearby, no schools nearby. Everything was a drive away. I didn't have a car. I was only a freshman, right? I didn't learn to drive until my senior year, actually. Part of that was just because I just never had my own car. I never really had a car. No one really offered to teach me earlier on. I gotta pee here, so I'm trying to make this quick. But long story short, in November of 2020, I did try to take my own life away. My mom and what is now my stepdad went on a trip to Texas for 2 weeks, and it was only just me, myself, and I in that house. There were days where I wouldn't eat anything. There was days where I would start to pick up sharp objects, start playing with it carelessly. Cuts on the forearms, cuts on the arms, cuts on the back. Nothing too much to scar, but something that was still fairly evident of where I was mentally. And eventually, I always ventured out, right? Get a little bit outside. And eventually, I found a very isolated place with some loose rope. And with that loose rope and my access to the internet, I learned how to tie a noose. And I left that noose there. Eventually, I came back around to it. I wasn't eating. I was crying restless nights. No one to talk to. Just me, myself, and I. This is at the peak of everything really coming down, right? I wasn't doing none of my schoolwork. I had no friends to talk to besides my friends online. I felt like a useless bag of air every single day that I was living because there was no progress being made. I felt like I was just a nobody sitting in a house that had to be paid for. The food needed to be put on the table for me. The roof needed to be over my head. And I would just sit there and rot, watch anime, play video games with no future of doing or aspirations of doing anything. I caved, and I almost did. I put out practically what you can call my goodbye note on Twitter. Hundreds of people saw it, maybe thousands of people saw it. I received hundreds of DMs. But when I put out that DM, I went out to the same place, the same tree where I tied that noose. And I was moments away from doing it until I broke down and cried one more time. I picked up my phone saw the onslaught of messages, the onslaught of notifications. In a moment of hopelessness, I opened some up and saw some of my close friends online messages and cried for endlessly for maybe the next hour, maybe a little over exaggerated, maybe the next 20 or so minutes. Saw people seeing if they can call police in his area, if anyone knows any of my family members, and nobody did. They knew what I was near, they knew what state I was in, right? They maybe knew one of the significant cities they knew I lived near, but they had no lock on my location or anything. So it was a pretty suitable situation to really go through with something, go through with that act, and I never did. And that perspective in that instance has changed my life forever. That was my freshman year. That's how I started off my high school. Eventually I got over it. Not completely. Nothing really just magically became okay. Had to speak to all my teachers when they realized I was failing all my classes. I had to talk to the vice principal. I had a mandatory therapist to talk to, and I only spoke to them, I'm pretty sure, once or twice, and then I convinced them that I was quote unquote okay, and then I never had to talk to them again. I was never okay though. I don't think I was really truly not depressed until maybe half a year down the line, 4 months down the line, more when we got into more going into person school, when we had the hybrid and we would actually be at school for half the week and then online for the other half. Started seeing faces. I didn't talk to many people. It took me a long time to make new friends, to be honest, especially with COVID and all in that environment. It was just not exactly the most inviting. Tried out for new teams, and then fast forward going to the second half of my freshman year, going into sophomore year, it was a lot better. Sophomore year, I met a new group of friends that weren't at my school. They were actually a group of friends from my second family back in the Bay Area. We went to a party to go see Christian. Haven't seen her in 2 years. Eventually, I was annoying the shit out of her and all that. That was the first night I actually got to drink, funny enough. And then I got into her Discord with her and all of her friends. And that pretty much became my predominant friend group for the next probably for the whole year. Predominantly for my whole sophomore year in 2021. That was my predominant friend group. Outside of my boys' friend group at school, which is just the dudes I played sports with. And then, I'm going to cut this short. I really need to piss. Junior year, after a pretty nice sophomore year, up and down hills here and there. Sophomore year, I had to stop becoming friends with that same group in the Bay Area with those girls because I decided to go to Six Flags. My mom was stopping to talking to certain families that she had connections with. And then it gave her a reason when I decided to go to Six Flags and I was screwing around in the store and I got caught as a minor like vandalizing, so they banned me from the park and there was a fine to pay of like $200. And that was me. Probably the dumbest thing I've done in my entire childhood, but honestly, that being the worst thing I've done in my entire childhood is not even remotely as bad as a lot of other things I've heard. And I've never done anything even close since. And I was still a minor, so, better just learn sooner than later. But then I had another sudden transfer. I went from my mom's to my dad's after a lot of family drama, a lot of stuff up and downhill. Eventually, at one point in that random summer, I spent most of the time with my dad. I went from living with my mom to living at my dad's. I was supposed to come back to the same high school I was going to the first 2 years, and then it became evident that me going back was a bad idea. And I had the first time to choose if I wanted to go back or have control and start over. But this time, this start over was my choice. Start over in a better environment. Start over and have a new parent in my life. Start over and have a more pleasurable environment around me. Stuff was easy to walk to. Stuff was easy to bike to. School was nearby. A lot more access, a lot more cultural. A lot more of my people, Filipinos, Asians. And after talking with some of my best friends, I decided to transfer at the start of the school year. I went to the first day of school at one high school, at my old high school, and then the next I was gone. That's unbelievable, right? Yeah, transferred my junior year, and that was the last transfer that I fortunately had to endure. And I met probably some of the best people in my life throughout those last 2 years of high school, junior, senior year. I guess I also went through one of my most memorable relationships right before that transfer, which led to a 2-year drought, which ended up all the way to the end of senior year, where the person I ended up talking to then ended up being a whole debacle of not working out. So that dove to me moving out of my house right after graduation, being isolated on my own, living with one roommate I didn't really talk to like that for about a month or two, and that's when I decided to join the military. And I don't think it ever would have happened. If that last relationship went through, I think it actually would have. Kept being a college student, would have stayed home. Not home as in home, like under my parents' house. I would have been playing from my own place probably, or living at a friend's house. But I ended up deciding to join the military, and that was all 2025. Where I think my biggest lesson in 2025, outside of learning my own priorities, and honestly, I probably peaked at how to network and how to make connections. I learned that so evidently in 2025. But because of that, I also came across too many damn girls and made them too much of a priority and let them play with my life back and forth every single time. And now I'm here in 2026, where I'm deciding, see all my mistakes, all I'm doing, going way more stronger with God than I have ever, and then really trying to find, at the age of 19 still, what am I doing? What do I want to do? What's my passions? What is something I really love doing? What are the things I really love doing? And how am I going to make them become what I am doing for my life, for my job, for a living? I want to be able to do what I love for a living. That is everybody's dream, right? And when I love something enough, see, there's so much in relationships, I will do anything. Anything. I will do anything I can think of. I will do everything and die on the hill. If I did everything and still got an outcome that maybe I'm not satisfied with. But when you're so dead set, how many times have I been so dead set on going through a challenge and making something happen, and it did happen because I put my work in, I put my effort in, put my love and passion into it, and I get rewarded for it. It's not going to happen in a short time. It's going to happen over time. It's going to happen over a long period. You got to stay patient, follow God's faith, His plan for you, His direction, the people He puts in your life, the people He takes out of your life. Pay attention to it all. That's what I got for about 30-40 minute talking rep. Also, I'm in public. This isn't public. I'm in a public park. People have been passing and looking at me the whole damn 40-minute recording. But that's kind of just me practicing and talking about a bit of a life story. You know, I didn't dive into all the specifics, obviously. I kind of just hit like certain checkpoints. But eventually, hopefully sometime soon here, I'm going to write that out as an essay, script it out, and just start shooting it out. Looks like I don't really got time to waste no more. It's kind of just, time is of the essence. I don't care. I need to stop getting the mentality I got so much time in the day. You never not going to have too much time in the day. You have too much to do, and you need to slowly crack down on it. That 1% mindset. 1% in multiple areas. How much can you get done in a day? But also, be intentional with everything. Be intentional with what you're eating. Be intentional in when you're sleeping. Be intentional with your breaks. Be intentional with your mental health. And that's treating yourself out. That's dwelling in nature. That's going on a run. That's focusing on what you're consuming, not just through your body, through your head too, right? Are you consuming a bunch of lustful type of content? Are you following a bunch of girls and these celebrities and Instagram influencers that you're following just because they look pretty? The second you notice that, unfollow them, put them away. You don't need those. This is my test year, though. This is my test year. It could very be. Next month, I could be in a completely different position than I am right now. God's giving you the hints right now. God's giving you the full-on hints. He's not saying that it could happen. He's saying it might most likely happen. That is your life set for the next half a year or so. And what are you willing to do with it? How badly do you love your passions? How badly do you want to help people? And what direction do you really want to go to? As I ask myself this, I ask everyone that may come across this, that same question too. That's all I got. Time to head back. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all for listening to this talking yap session with me. Because this is I might have to get used to for the next couple of months, for the next half a year of sitting in a room and just talking on my video, talking on my camera, browsing ideas, researching, reading books. And then when I get back, I'm going to come back stronger as ever. That's all I got. Stay blessed, stay safe. I'm going to see you in the next one. Peace.